What's good, YouTube, and welcome to the reality of voice acting with your host, yours truly, Richard Hawks. Today's video, excuse me, today's video, we're going to be talking about getting it all done. Wow, right? We're going to be talking about getting it all done. Now, here's the truth of the matter. The reality is, it just doesn't happen sometimes. Real talk. It just doesn't happen. Every day, you're just not going to be able to get every single solitary thing done that's on your to-do list in regards to your voiceover business, especially when we're talking about when it comes down to when it's not your full-time thing just yet, and when you're just starting out, when you're at the end of year one, going into year two, depending on how good or how bad your year one went. If your year one went real well and you got a lot of work going on, going into year two, and you still got your job going in, you might be in a position where you're trying to transition and don't really know how to do it, or you might be in a totally different position. But the moral to the story is at the end of the day, sometimes you really don't get it all done. But what we always can do and what we must do is make sure that we are as efficient as possible, right? Now, when I say efficient, now for that as a voiceover actor, that means being as efficient as possible with our DAW. Now, our DAW, when we're talking about our DAW, depending on which one you use and whichever one you use is fine. Learn all of the shortcuts. Learn as many shortcuts to the processes as you can, right? Now, the reason for that is simply this. The faster you're able to get the work done, the more work you can do. It really is just that simple. And you're preparing yourself for the future of getting much more business and more business volume, right? Now, in addition to that, from a voice actor standpoint, your processes and procedures, knowing when you can record, when you can't record, knowing the best times that you can't. Well, and from those of us that have other businesses and jobs and other things happening in our lives, then you know that you have a certain time to get accomplished what you need to get accomplished, and you must be as efficient as possible during those times and getting those things done, right? Now, so I have a few things here that I wanted to kind of go over from an article that I was looking over as it kind of relates to going down into voiceover. And this is not going to be a long video, but I just wanted to kind of highlight a few things that was happening in this particular article that I think will be very interesting for time management tips, right? And I may go through and put some of these across the screen. So this is coming from, and I'm looking for my note, looking at my notes down here. So this is coming from an article. This is coming from an article from the University of Georgia. It's called Time Management, 10 Strategies for Better Life. Now, these are going to be the what I'm going to be reading from here, the 10 strategies from this particular article, and they relate directly to voiceover, as you'll be able to see as I'm going through them here. And the whole point of this is really just to kind of get you to thinking about something. These are just the things when I was looking for, because I kind of have a hodgepodge of things that I look at and I put together for my own time management things and strategies and such. And I work a lot through my devices to help and aid with that as well. But but these tips can really go through and help to get you thinking in the right direction and to help you with the really hopefully get your time, give you some tips and ways to help get your time organized and better in line as well. Okay. Now let's go, and we'll go through a bunch of these really quickly because like I said, these are very self-explanatory. All right, number one, know how you spend your time. Most of us that are already have a life and already have a job and businesses and everything and a full-time gig and everything going on, we can pretty much cover where the bulk of we can pretty much cover where the bulk of our time goes, right? So that wouldn't be too hard for us to know where the bulk of our time is. I think for those of us when we're just starting out the book, I think our biggest problem is maximizing the small increments of time that we do have. Right. So I think number one, yes, most of us at this stage, I think most of us at this stage that are going into voiceover that still haven't developed, the enough revenue to do only voiceover and still have other things happening. I think we kind of know where the bulk of where our time is going. Right now, let's see. Number two, set priorities. We talked about that in a previous video when we're talking about setting priorities, and setting priorities should be centered and focused around your goals that I was talking about in a previous video. Um, Goal setting is very important, and I know a lot of people talk about it now because we're going into the new year and all of that. But the truth of the matter is, and the reality is, we need to be setting goals we need to be setting goals and reviewing goals as much as needed. And I mean, there's really, whenever you achieve one, you should already have some others in place to setting some more. And as you're living your life and as you're just doing things some more, you're going to want to do more things as you discover more things. So goal setting is something that's always going to be happening, that should always be happening as you strive to do bigger and better things. So set your priorities around the goals that you're trying to achieve. And then those of us that have multiple things going on, we have to set our priorities around the time that we have available. And once we get into the time that we have available, then we have to budget and prioritize that time to be able to get the most bang for our buck productivity wise, to be able to get the goals that we're trying to reach, the goals that we're trying to reach within our voiceover business and to build our voiceover business. Because essentially that's what this is about. This is about us being as effective and efficient as possible and doing our best to get it all done, right? And because getting it all done is the whole theme and the whole goal and the whole point, to get it all done. And even though we can't get it all done, we want to at least be as efficient and effective as possible to get most of it done. And there are going to be some days where we get it all done. And there's maybe some times where we get into a streak and we start getting it all done a lot, right? And then we start to really feel ourselves when we think we're invincible until we hit a bad spot, where we start getting everything done. But it's okay. We're never going to always get it all done. Okay, let's move on. Number four, get organized. Getting organized kind of trails into what I was talking about mastering your DAW. Streamline your processes as much as possible, whether it's in your DAW or it's in how you market, whether it be through your social media marketing or if you're sending out emails, or streamline your processes, how you do your auditions, when you audition, or how you process, just any and everything regarding your business and how you do your whole process. We all know that we have to audition. We all know that we have to market our business. We all know that we have different ways and methods in which each one of us do those things. And what we're talking about in getting organized, especially in this stage where it's not your primary business and it is a part and it is a business in your portfolio, but maybe not the money making business. And if you have a primary job and other things happening within, then obviously, and you have to streamline and make things work as seamless as possible so that you can get more done in shorter periods of time. Because right now, in this stage, you're going to have shorter periods of time to work with and to get things done, which is the whole point in mastering your DAW as much as you possibly can. and putting things into practice. When you're watching the video, watch the video on your tablet or on your device, and then maybe have it at your workstation, and then go through and do the things that they're teaching so that you can actually be able to put them in practice. Put them in practice on an audition that you're actually working on, you know, or some things that you're actually building. Always go through and try to double up. When I say double up, I mean try to execute something that you're learning. Use a file that you're working on when you're trying something. If it doesn't work, okay, go back to what you were doing before. If it does work, okay, great. But hey, but once again, get organized, get as much bang for your time as possible, especially right now, in these early stages. All right, let's press on. Number 5, which goes into number 4. Number 5, schedule your time appropriately. We talked about that briefly as well already. And once again, when you already have a full-time job or you already have another business happening, then it's very easy for you to be able to set the times and hours and time frames that you are able to actually go and devote to your voiceover business. Okay. All right. Now let's press on. Step 6, delegate. Get help from others. In the voiceover business, that's kind of hard to do with some of the things. Now, granted, I know, yes, there are some things that we can always outsource out once we actually get to that point. But when you're just starting out at the early stages, there's very little that you can delegate or get help with in the early stages of your business. Now, obviously, you want to have a coach, or you want to be building a relationship with a coach, or have sources of coaches that you get assistance from in aiding you in the development of your craft as a voice actor. Now, and then of course you need all of the other things that you need to run your business from behind the scenes, and the things that come along with that. But as far as delegating and getting help from others, we're a one-man band when we're coming in here right off of the bat. Now, as time goes on and you grow, we'll cross that proverbial bridge when we get to it in this side of voiceover. But most of us that are coming in at this stage, we're doing everything alone, so we don't have too much to delegate to others, unless we're delegating some of the other things that we would normally do in our day-to-day lives to to someone else, so that we can free up more time to devote to our voiceover business. So unless we're speaking about maybe if you run another business, and perhaps you can maybe rearrange some things in your other business, as far as task-wise, to be able to devote some extra time to your voiceover business. Or depending on how your working time goes, you may be able to make some arrangements, in your schedule at work, so that you can have some other time to work in your voiceover business, if you're flexible and able to do that, if you're able to rotate to a different schedule to where you can devote a certain amount of time when clients are open and available, or whatever you want to do, or or however you want it to devote that. So schedule your time appropriately. Get help from others. All right, number 7, stop procrastinating. Just about get out here and getting it done. Just get out here and get it done. You have to start from wherever you are. And if wherever you are is in a small place and you don't have all of the things that you feel like you want and that you need, start from where you are. You can make money from where you are. And now, granted, you'll hear me talk a lot about getting coaching, and not to negate the value of high quality coaching, because it helps you to learn what you don't know, and what you don't know can cost you can cost you a very valuable lesson, in lost wages and monies, right? So you want to make sure that you don't procrastinate on getting proper coaching, but in the midst of it all, still start from where you are, and you can never know enough about your DAW. The better you are at working your DAW, the better you're going to be at getting this audio out faster, getting high quality audio done in an expeditious manner is a wonderful thing, and it will definitely help your bottom line and your workflow and your process. And as you get better in doing it, you'll be able to outsource that service to other people to get additional revenue as well. Now, moving on to number 8, manage external time wasters. This particular point could be a video all in itself. Managing external time wasters are essentially being focused on the task at hand. With those of us as being voiceover artists and having a limited amount of time to do the things that we do with our voiceover business, we definitely must make sure that we are not spending any extra time on Facebook or any of the other social networks unless we are really going out there marketing our material, promoting our material, posting some new material, or any of those sort of things for the sake of increasing our brand and generating us some business of some sort. We must definitely make it a certain point to manage and eliminate any external time wasters that may be coming through to bog down that are not productive. Because what we're really talking about here are unproductive tasks. And an unproductive task is anything that is, in my simplest definition, an unproductive task is a task that's not producing or pushing you or getting you closer to achieving your goal for why you are doing whatever you're doing during that said amount of time. In our case, voiceover. So you want to make sure in these times that you're as efficient as possible with your time. So when you are in the zone of doing your voiceover time for your voice, when you're in the time for doing your voiceover business, you want to make sure that there's nothing else that's coming in the way of you being able to get the most and maximize that time as much as possible, because it's not a lot of time that you're going to have when you're initially starting out. Even if you start to get really successful, which is a wonderful thing, but if you still, it can be a challenge if you have a really big client that has paid you pretty good for a project, and you still have your job, and they still want to contact you, and you know what I mean, and depending on what time zone they're in, if their time zone is different from yours, they may want to communicate at a time when you may either be at another place making it your other business or your other job, or it can get to be it can get to be interesting at times, but you always want to make it a point to manage your external time wasters and be as efficient as possible in handling your business. Now let's press on. Number 9, avoid multitasking. Well, that was intriguing. I got mixed feelings about it because I understand the premise, but I honestly think it depends on the person. And if you're the type of person that are able to do a couple of things really well at once, then I'm not going to say avoid multitasking. Now, from the standpoint of the article speaking about avoiding multitasking, I understand from that point because they're speaking about um, focusing on the task at hand. And as a voiceover artist and us having to actually act and invoke emotion when we're reading, we often need to be focused on the single task at hand. But so from the standpoint of not multitasking, I understand why you should not be multitasking. On the other hand, this was one of the ones where I was kind of like, oh, I understand their psychological points and not wanting to not wanting to multitask. But from a voiceover artist standpoint, and from a person that's a business owner with multiple things always happening all the time, multitasking is almost something that is second nature, that has it done for the fact of survival. So the reality is, although it's always best to focus on the task at hand, I think it's almost impossible to avoid multitasking. So I'm not going to tell you, as this article says, and if you're looking it up, it's fine. When you look it up, you'll see it's there as point number 9, avoid multitasking. But as a voiceover artist, and when you're just starting, trying to get this whole situation going, then avoiding a multitasking is not something it's not a luxury that a lot of us can afford, unless at times that it's not a luxury that we can typically afford. Now, pressing on to number 10, which is what I think is one of the most important in the midst of all of these. Stay healthy. Now, staying healthy is, although it might seem second nature, and you might be like, duh, Richard, stay healthy. Yeah. But no, it's really important because although we simply just talk and use our voice must, in order for our voice to sound the way we need it to sound, and for us to be able to use our instrument and also to go up and down and around and do all of the things that clients want us to do with our voice, to give them the ooh ahs, and for us to be able to generate a living, right? We must make it a point to keep our body healthy so that our voice can stay healthy, so that we can be able to keep on doing this wonderful thing and providing the amazing, out of this world voices, right? But we staying healthy is immensely, 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 immensely important. Now, and at the end of this video, to sum all of this up, from a voiceover artist standpoint, getting it all done, is it ever going to happen? Sometimes. Sometimes it is. Sometimes it isn't. But guess what? You keep on going. You keep on going. You prioritize. You get as much done as you possibly can, and you live to fight another day. But other than that, in the midst of it all, these 10 tips will definitely help. And there are some things that I actually do use on a day-to-day basis to help to get things done. And there's one final quote that I will leave you with. Kind of sums it all up. And it's from the article as well. Think about this. You cannot manage time. You manage the events in your life in relation to time. Now, how's that for an idea? Kind of thought. And as I said in the podcast, if you're not listening to the podcast, check out my podcast, Too Rich to Miss Podcast, on all the platforms. And also check out the site, www.toorichtomiss.com. But you cannot manage time, but we can manage the things around it. And if we can't get it all done on a day-to-day basis, don't beat yourself up about it, because tomorrow is another day. I'll catch you on the next one. This has been another episode of The Reality of Voice Acting with Richard Hawks. We'll see you next week.